Hey guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to the newly released Grandmaster Gauntlets Ordeal. Now this is the same as the usual Grandmaster Gauntlet with buffed up defenders and health pools, and you can only use your 7-star champions. Now I would suggest you to bring your highest rank champions because the health pools are crazy. The 7-star rank tools will not cut it. I mean, you can do it, but it's going to take quite a bit of time. So, my team that I brought in is going to be a Werewolf by Night, who is my first rank 4. Then I brought in a rank 3 Ironheart, Void, D.Shehulk and Sentry to round up my team. All of them are rank 3, and as you noticed at the start of the video, I boosted super well. Now the first fight is going to be against a Doom with Bubble Shield, Particle Protector, Micro Reflect and Size Matters. So, you have to use champions that are Excel champions to avoid any type of glancing. If you're using a large champion like me, remember that your light attacks and medium attacks will be glanced, so just be wary about that. And take care of the bubble shield. Do not block much because every time you will block, you will get a charge on you. And after the 10 charges, the 11th charge will be unblockable. And there's also, my suggestion is to keep Dr. Doom to an SP1 only. SP2 can be tricky sometimes to evade, and that can be a bit annoying for you to deal with it. But remember Doom's aura, with the SP1 you won't be able to knock him down, so be a bit wary about that. Now I am using Werewolf by Night here. The idea was to just hit Doom in the block and get to my 2 bars of power. And because Werewolf is duped, I will get unblockable and unstoppable. That will give me openings. And once I have my lycanthropy charges up, I can trigger my SP2 for that big damage. What I didn't anticipate was these crazy health pools, so yeah, it took quite a while, but I was able to take him down. Some of the counters that can work here can be your Joe Fixit, your Overseer, your Sentinel. You can also use Magneto with only parry and heavy. Once the Magnetize is on, so he can work here as well. But he will take a lot more specials to bring Doom down. If you don't have another option, Magneto is also another one. Warlock should be able to work here, and also Onslaught should work super well. So these are quite a few options. I'm sure there are many more out there, but I'll be only mentioning 5 to 6 options for every fight. Can't put them all there, so make sure that you jump in the comment section and you talk about what champions you used. And let's make this thread as helpful as possible for everybody coming in to check the video out. So I'm gonna fast forward the video a little bit and we can move on to the next fight that is going to be against Terrax. Next up, we're going to have Terrax. Now, this is one of those fights which I tested before I started the ordeal, and I'm like, you know what, Werewolf can take it easy, but dude, this fight was so annoying. Probably this was the only annoying fight I had on all the ordeal. So the health pools and the damage really, makes a mess. So the nodes here are powerful from afar, energize, and galactic intervention. So just to simply put, he gains a lot of power and he will be in his rock field 80% of the fight, so you need to play around it. So remember, do not push him to an SP3 without his rock shield active, otherwise you will take quite a bit of damage. So the name of the game is the same for me, that I am going to push him to an SP2 and push him always up to in the rock field, and I'm going to throw my SP2s always in lycanthropy, and also the region will help me heal up. But the damage is so much I wasn't able to heal. I did die a couple of times here, but eventually I was able to take out Terrax, so I would say bring out another option. I think Sentry would be a better option here. Serpent would be a better option here if you have, instead of Werewolf by Night. But because he was my rank 4, so I brought him. But his damage is also crazy though. He's already brought down Terrax to 68%. Now, some tips here would be that there is going to be a crazy power gain on Terrax. So it's very easy to push him to an SP3, but always push him above 3 bars when you have rock shield active. Also, champions with high energy resistance will be your best options here, and you can also run willpower here, because the constant armor breaks will keep giving you regen with willpower. Now, some great counters here are going to be your Onslaught, Bishop with some high energy resistance, Wiccan can be another one, Kushala can be another one. You can also use somebody like Havoc. So basically any champions that can tank that crazy rock field damage, and then the armor breaks give them regen with willpower for your sustain, and you should be able to get through this fight. I did die a couple of times here, and I eventually was able to bring Terrax down. So I will leave you to it for the remaining of the fight, and I'll see you on the next one, that would be against Vision. Fight number 3 starts with your Vision. Now with Vision, it's going to be a really fun fight, because the nodes here are going to be Surging Vengeance. So he will throw his specials in order: SP1 first, SP2, and then SP3. Then there's also Aspect of Death. So if he uses an SP3, it's an instant death, no matter how much health you have. Now, you will need champions that can either tank his specialty, or they have some kind of a taunt to bait out Vision special attacks. So I am using a She-Hulk here with all of her trauma debuffs. She also taunts the opponent, so that works really well. He will keep throwing that SP1, and you can keep taking him out, keep building up those SP2s. Once you have around 10 of those traumas, 10 to 15, throw in an SP2 also, so you can apply that Wither. So if Vision gets power with his Sig ability, you can just reverse it right there and then. Some good options that work for this fight are going to be mostly your champions that can tank. So Luke Cage would be really amazing here. You can also use Magneto if you're bringing him, because he's going to work on Doom and he works for quite a few fights. So if you have a rank 3 Magneto, you can run with Mutant Power Boost and you can use that as well. It might cost you 1 or 2 revives, but he can work also. Another great champion can be Medusa, so anti-robotic champions can work as well. You can literally shut down Vision, not give him power after that armor shatter is applied. And then both the She-Hulks can work. I'm using Deathless She-Hulk. The regular She-Hulk also works because of the taunts. They will keep throwing specials. And another option is going to Spider-Man Stark. So basically, you just bring in taunt champions and indestructibles, and you should be able to take out Vision quite easily in the end. They are rank 3 champions. Again, I will tell you to bring rank 3 champions and boost fully before you go into the fights, because the health pools are crazy and it does take out quite a bit to take the defenders down. And just like that, before we know it, Vision is almost dead, so we're going to take him out and move on to the next fight. Next up, we are going to have a M.O.D.O.K with Hard Knock Life. So every time you're going to parry, you're going to get a passive Disorient that will reduce your ability accuracy. There is also stun vulnerability, so M.O.D.O.K will take extra damage and stun. And there's Chair Larceny. Every 6th hit he's going to, in your block, he's going to crit you. And there is Specialist 1 and Enhanced SP1, so he is supposed to activate more special ones, and they are enhanced, so they are unblockable. So having that out of the way, there's going to be a lot of auto block here. So you need champions that can bypass the auto block, so they work. You can also use champions that don't like bypass auto block, like I'm using Serpent. So this is going to be a bit slower fight for me. So I would suggest you champions like Gore, champions like Medusa, because M.O.D.O.K is a robot, so Medusa can shut down also. Walk should work. Your Magneto should work here again. And also champions like Angela should be a good one, because they totally bypass the auto block. Another thing that would work really well here, that if you don't have a counter to auto block, I would suggest you to use your SP3s only, because that is guaranteed damage. Then apart from that, Paddy, be careful about the Disorient, that would reduce your ability accuracy. And yeah, it's going to be a slow fight. It's not going to be like, you know, like you slash gag and you take it away. So just be patient with it. If you have like a champion that can work around the auto block, you will have a much easier time. For me, I didn't have somebody that specific that I could put in the team, so I brought in a Serpent. One of 2 reasons, because he will keep gaining power for no reason because of his power gain, and also if M.O.D.O.K is blocking, I can always just throw my special 1 or 2 in the block, and that becomes unblockable, and I can fully use that special attack on M.O.D.O.K and deal full damage. I don't have to wait for an SP3. So the rotation will be quite simple. Get to an SP3 first, throw that out, and then just alternate your SP2 and SP1. Just try to hit M.O.D.O.K in the block when you throw your special, just like that at the end of it. So the whole special attack is unblockable and you do quite a bit of damage to M.O.D.O.K. Slow and steady, you will be able to take him out. And now we have fight number 5, Spiderham, the first like really annoying fight of the part that really gets you mad if you don't play it right. Now the nodes here are going to be equally energized, power bond, defensive and debuff immunity. So you need somebody ideally that has an evade counter but that cannot be a debuff. So like slow will not work here because Spiderham is debuff immune. So you need somebody with true strike, true accuracy, pursuit, or somebody that is good against Spidey champion. So Venom, anti-Venom, or your Venom pool. All of those champions work. So for the counters, I've given you quite a bit. There is one thing in common in them, that they are all going to be champions that have some kind of true accuracy, true focus or pursuit. So I'm talking about your Venom, talking about your Professor X, also Serpent after his SP1. If you keep the true focus up, Spiderham does not evade. Also Killmonger, and you can also use an onslaught with just SP1 spam, and you should be good. Now, once you have that out of the way, it's actually a pretty simple and straightforward fight. If you can control all of his evades, there would be less kind of power stings on you. And even if you get power stings, you can wait them out because the willpower will heal you up. So it's going to be again a slow fight, but a very doable fight. So make sure that you bring in a good counter. Sentry is just a monster for all of this ordeal. He took out so many champions for me. So I would suggest if you have a Serpent, I keep saying Sentry instead of Serpent. So if I say Sentry, you know what I mean is Serpent. Okay. So here we are. We got to the SP3, waiting for the SP1 out, and then we're gonna throw our SP3, and we're gonna do some really good damage and stack up those furies. Now, one final thing about this fight. His special 1 or special 2, it's very easy to push him to a special 2 that can be unblockable as well. So if you only keep him to a special 1, he will keep applying taunt on you. That will reduce your special damage. So you have to be wary about that. And also, if you let him throw an SP2, he might be unblockable. So you need to know which ones are you going to push him to, because the fight will be faster if you only push him to an SP2. But it will be a less safer fight, because if you get hit by the pies, the power stings can really stack. On the other hand, the power stings can also heal you up with willpower. So if you can balance that out, that will work super well. But I tend to keep only to SP1, is much more safer. It takes a longer time to bait out all the specials, but the fight is safer and it cost me less revive. So I was able to solo this fight with the Serpent. So fight number 1 on path 2 is going to be a Weapon X with the nodes, enhanced buff duration, enhanced recovery and outlast. So basically he is a super tanky Weapon X with a lot of regen, and if you know, Weapon X regen cannot be modified by ability accuracy or debuffs like Petrify or Wither. So you need champions here that are either heal blockers or can apply a lot of debuffs with Despair Mastery that should help you. Now, ideally, I would tell you to bring in champions like Warlock, Omega Sentinel, but then champions like Shuri and Ironheart can also work because you apply a lot of sustainable debuffs and they are enough to do all of that damage. The only trick here is for you to understand how to control his charges. So, what I like to do is always keep Wolverine to a special 1, and after it triggers SP1 like this, he gives me an opening and that helps me go back in. So I'm always going to use my 5-hit combos, and whenever my special 1 is ready, I'll throw it out just to make sure that he's always above 1 bar of power, so I don't have to like really make openings. He will give me the openings. The only time that you have to stay back is when he is going to go unstoppable, so you just have to be careful about that. And with the striker, it's very easy to always have him above 1 bar of power. He throws the SP1 out and gives you an opening straight away. I'm just spamming my SP1s here because I'm trying to stack as many incinerates as possible so I can out damage the regen. So yeah, that's about it for this fight, guys. Just make sure you have a heal blocker and always push him to an SP1 and use that SP1 trigger for an opening and you should be good. Next up, we're going to have thing that is going to be fight number 7 with shifting immunity, poison and bleed, and unblockable specials and oscillate. So the whole thing here is that he's going to go unblockable whenever he's going to throw specials. So the only thing you need to worry about is to manage his rock stacks. So the way you work around it is you push him to 15 rock stacks when he throws a special attack. Now I know it's easier said than done, but after you have a bit of a practice, it should be good. So remember that he's going to have oscillate, so every 10 seconds he is going to be very aggressive. He's going to throw those specials out, and then for the next 10 seconds he's going to be passive. You can note that with the fury icon that is on the cooldown underneath things health bar. Until the fury is there, he is going to be very aggressive, and once the fury timer is over, it converts into an armor just like that. He is going to be super passive, so you just have to play around that. And it's a regular thing fight. Any regular thing counter works, not really like over the top difficult. The only thing you need to know that how many hits are going to be in your special attack, because if you're trying to push him to 15 rock stacks, you should be able to do that. The trouble happens when something like this happens. Now he's at 15 rock stacks, he does not have any kind of special attack, and I'm doomed. Now I have to wait for him to go into his defensive phase, so I'm just blocking. There we go, and now I can hit him in the block and try to give him a bar of power. So that is the only problem that will happen during the rotation if you mess it up. Now within the oscillate defensive phase, I have to push him to an SP1 bar of power, And now I'm okay because I know he's going to throw a special as soon as he gets into the attacking phase and the rock stacks are gone. So this fight is all about managing the rock stacks and you should be good. Another thing, I used a Void here. In hindsight, I would have gone for a She-Hulk or a Deathless She-Hulk because that would have been much faster. Void is very slow, and with these crazy health pools, it took me forever. If I do this again, I would use a champion with a higher damage. I would even use a Werewolf by Night, that will work really well, or even an Ironheart here. She would also do great with all the incinerates and everything. So not the best option when I say Void, but he's a very safe option. So if you have him, you can use him. Otherwise, it's a very simple regular thing fight. As long as you can manage the rock stacks, you should be good. Giving you some counters on the side, so Sentry should be a good one. Ironheart, both the She-Hulks, Werewolf by Night should be great as well. I should have used him, but I brought in Void with the slow takedown. So it's going to be a boring fight for the remaining one. I'll leave you to it and I'll meet you on the Korg. Now, probably the most annoying fight in the whole ordeal. Now, before you jump onto this fight, make sure that you check your boost, that you're boosted well, because you want to get one and done from this fight. Otherwise, this fight can drag on and can be very annoying to deal with. Now, the nodes here are going to be your Mix Master. So if you try to use the same basic attack twice in a row, he's going to miss. There's also Flux Dispersal, so every time you attack him, there's going to be a flux charge on him that will reduce the damage taken by 5%. You can note that with the gray icon with the tiny number 9, and that can go to up to 20 charges. At 20 charges, you deal 0 damage. And the way you remove those charges is by using a heavy attack, and a heavy attack instantly removes all of those charges. There's also Ghost Warp, so he is going to keep gaining those charges that will increase his block penetration, and eventually he will hit you really hard. You can note that with the orange icon with the numbers underneath them, so that's 24, so the block penetration is increased, and also is going to be aggressive. So all in all, this is a very annoying fight. Now, you will need passive stuns for this fight, so if you have mutant champions, if you're gonna bring them, they will be the best. I would suggest you to bring Bishop, because Bishop just makes a joke out of this fight. Bishop is also great for your Terrax fight, so all in all, he's a good champion to bring in. Same goes for both the Storms, same goes for your NTW and also your Onslaught. But I am using a very different champion, that is the Serpent. Now, why I'm using a Serpent? Because I just hate Mixmaster. So with Serpent, the Mixmaster does not stay into play, so I can remove that. The remaining, I can play around with. So what I was trying to do here is, once I have my true focus on me, I know that Korg is not going to evade. And I was saving my special, so when he is going to get those get those rock stacks on him, because with the rock stacks I will throw one special one in the block also, and that is going to remove all of those charges. So that was really helpful for me. Now, the fight didn't start really well. I got down to 30% very quickly, so just trying to find openings here, got hit again, and at this point, you know what, I am done. But I got an SP3, I was able to space. Now, another thing is that whenever you throw SP3, you are going to remove those rock stacks from Korg. So the whole thing with Serpent is how you control the rock stacks, because evade is not going to be a big deal. And use your striker to throw in a heavy attack, or when the rock stacks are removed, you can just use a heavy attack and you can remove those flux dispersal charges on you, and you should be able to do more damage. So right here, he has an SP1. I threw my SP1 in the block and his rock shield is gone. So effectively, you take care of the evade and the rock shield with Serpent, and then the only thing remaining is going to be your flux dispersal charges. So once there is no rock shield, you can reliably parry, and you can use your heavy attack to remove them, and then throw your special to do all the damage. So let SP1 again help me remove all of those charges from the rock stack. So this is going to be the rotation if you're going to use Serpent. I found him super great for this fight. I was able to get down Korg with the solo. It doesn't look like it. I'm down 21% health, but he did amazing for this fight. Once I had my first special 3, I was just trying to kind of alternate my SP2 and SP1 and stacking all of those Furies. So remember to keep throwing those heavy attacks in between to remove the flux dispersal charges, and you should be good. And one final thing is, you will need to learn how to evade his SP1, because he's going to throw a lot of them, and if you're not familiar with those, it's going to be a lot of trouble. Do a lot of duels, learn that, because that will help you reduce your revives. If not, there's always Unit Man, but yeah, better to just learn a bit of the special evades, and you should be good for this fight. Serpent was a really surprise counter for this fight that worked out really well. So if you're using Serpent, he is going to take out Korg really nicely. Now we have the hard fights done. Now it's up for the fun fights. So the fight is going to be against Dragonman. Now Dragonman is going to have stun immunity, aspect of evil, and power bond. So whenever he will gain a bar of power, his power gain will increase. So he will gain more power with less hits. So the hardest part here is how do you manage his power and not push him to an SP3. And with his power gain, he can get really tricky to play around. Now, Petrify with the Exhaustion debuffs are your best friends because they will control his power nicely. SP3 is going to be a threat here, but I think you can tank quite a bit of them. But I would suggest you not to push him to an SP. That's a lot of damage. Now, once you have the control of the power gain, keep up the power gain buff so you can control the power. So what I mean is when you have a Petrify up and if you keep Dragonman's power gain buff up, that is going to be reversed and that is going to help you. So having that out of the way, what are some good options? Now I am going to use a Deathless She-Hulk. She works amazing until I make a mistake and I die. Just stupid mistake. I could have just easily soloed him. Both the She-Hulks will work. Nefaria will work also, but a duped version to control the power. You can also use a Magneto here, but remember you will have to use the mutant boost and everything. Void is going to be a super safe counter because of all the petrifiers and also the Dream of the Void or whatever is called his ability after 6 debuffs. And then there's also your Luke Cage. He can tank the SP3 and while all of those exhaustion buffs, he's going to do a lot more damage. And also he is going to reverse the power gain when enough exhaustions are there. So he is also an amazing counter for this fight. So all of these champions work. The gameplay rotation is quite simple. Keep baiting his specials. Avoid getting hit for the unblockable. I started messing up here. I was doing so well. And try to get Wither, Exhaustion, or even Taunt in this case, so he can keep throwing those specials. He doesn't get defensive and gets to an SP3, and you should be good. If I had a choice, I think the best option here would be Luke Cage, followed closely by Void. But again, depends on your team, what team you're going to bring in, and you will be able to take him down quite easily in the end. Next one is going to be against Black Panther Civil War, and you notice he starts with an armor up. Irene is unblockable. I did not know that and I got hit in the face, but luckily it was only one hit, so I saved myself. Now the nodes are going to be Armored Assault, Footloose, and Arc Overload. So I think every 15 seconds he will get a regen and an armor up buff. Because of Armored Assault, he is going to be unblockable. Now, before this fight used to be quite a pain because before his base kit had armor ups in it. Now, but after he is buffed, the armor ups are not there. So this fight has become a bit more easier. So you just have to remember that armor ups, when they're active, stay away from him because he's going to go unblockable. And also, Footloose is going to be there. That is going to be annoying to deal with. So whenever he will throw a special attack, he is going to go unstoppable, and it will also have an evade charge. So either you're bringing a counter, a slow counter, a mutant slow counter, somebody like Danny Moonstar, or somebody like North Star, they will work well. Or you bring in any mystic champions that can apply stagger, or that can apply neutralize, and they can eat up all the buffs and they can keep it up. So Purgatory is a good option here, Wiccan is a good option. Or if you're like me, you can bring in a Serpent, just brute force slowly, and you should be good, because the good thing with the Serpent is you can literally hit in the block and throw your specials and they will be unblockable, and you can do enough damage to take out. Another great option is going to be your Sorcerer Supreme. She's not only applies slow to counter the evade, but also she can remove the buffs because she's a mystic champion. She can nullify, so she can also really control the fight well. But as I'm already using the Serpent, he is a really good fit for my team, so I'm gonna use Serpent for this fight. It works out quite well for me. So if you have a Serpent, he will take out 8 to 10 fights for you in this gauntlet. So yeah, that's pretty much about this. That's pretty much it about this fight. Just make sure that you hit in the block to make sure that you have your spacing is better to push Black Panther Civil War on his side of the map. So when he throws those special attacks, you can easily evade them. So spacing is going to be also very important for this fight. And then that, if you had all of that under control, the fight is quite easy to deal with. His SP1 is a bit tricky, so I like pushing him to an SP2. Again, don't get pushed back into your corner. That's where the fight goes down. That where the fight goes down, so just be wary about that, and you should be able to get through this fight relatively easy. I say relatively easy. Please bring your 7-star rank 3 champions. If you don't have them, wait out, level up your champions or rank up before you go into the ordeal. This is meant for endgame players, so it is going to cost you a lot, because the health pools are like super crazy. And then we have pass number 3. The first fight is going to be your Nightcrawler. Now, how does this fight is not difficult? It's only requires you an evade counter. Now, before Nightcrawler's rework, or if you might say buff, it was easier to switch him, but after it is very difficult to switch him. And with all the damage, with his cruelty and everything, he can really go nuts with all his evades. And on top of that, there is best defense. The best defense enhances his ability to evade. And there is gifted and feeling blessed. So his criticals and his cruelty, they hit very, very hard. But the fight is super easy if you bring in a champion that can easily bypass the evade. So enter the Serpent. So you just have to play slow until you throw your first special one. Once that is done, you are going to have true focus. And that is the end of Nightcrawler. He just becomes like a simple punching bag, where you are just going to wait out his specials and then throw yours, and before you know it, he's going to be down and out in this fight. Now, what other options that can work here? Anybody, now he has, I forget to tell you, he has force of will, so slow champions will not work here. Any champion that reduces the ability accuracy will not work as like a viable counter. So you need champions that have either true strike, true focus, or some kind of an anti-evade mechanism, like cold snap should work here. So champions that are like that have true strike, so for example Null and also Venom should be able to work here. Your Medusa should be able to work after the armor shatter. Your Odin, as long as you stay near the opponent, that should work. My choice was Serpent because of the true focus. Iceman is also another option that could work. I feel like Venom could do really well in this gauntlet because there's a lot of fights where he will like really destroy the opponents. So I can think about 5 to 6 fights where Venom can take advantage. So if you have a rank 3 Venom, I would suggest you to bring him in. He is going to do a lot of work for you in this ordeal. Next up is going to be a Spidergwen. Now you notice I got stunned straight away because my stupid ass tried to parry her. But she has a note here that is window of opportunity stun. So there is going to be a stun shield on her that will go on cooldown every 20 seconds. But if I try to parry or stun her within that cooldown, I'm going to be stunned back. And also there is one eye open. So if I do any kind of damage to her while she is stunned, all of that is going to be returned to me. And the best defense is still there, and force of will. So basically the same kind of champions that you used last time, you're going to be using here. So Venom is going to be super cool because Spidergwen is a Spider-Verse champion and she will not evade against Venom. Again, Medusa, Null, Odin. Another really cheeky counter here that you might not know is going to be a Colossus. Now Colossus can also take out a lot of other champions in this ordeal. If you have a rank 3 Colossus, oh god, he will do so much work here. So the way Colossus parry works is when you parry and you try to use a heavy attack, the heavy attack is applied after the stun is removed. So he is a crazy counter for this fight. The one eye open does not affect him because he effectively removes the stun before he applies that damage to the opponent. So pretty straightforward fight. Just bring in an evade counter and you should be good. Just wait for the special attacks from Spider-Gwen and you should be able to get through this fight relatively easy. Yeah, that's about it. My counter was Serpent. I did get hit in the beginning, getting stunned by the window of opportunity stun, but once I had the fight in control, the rest was super easy to deal with. Given you quite a few options, so check them out, and if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. Now, generally, I just hate fighting Dominos because they're just so annoying. I am so over the ability to just randomly evade you and all of that Domino shenanigans. But this Ordeal Domino is not that bad because you know why? She has Power Shield and I can really nuke her down. And also there is Matador, so I will only gain power when she is going to throw a special attack. There's Debilitate, so the debuffs will last longer, and there is Limber, so I cannot stun too much. I have to take some hits in the block, and if I take hits in the block, it will activate crit failure and give me damage. And there's also Force of Will, so ability accuracy cannot be reduced on Domino. Now generally you would like to bring in tech champions that kind of cannot, their ability accuracy cannot be reduced, so somebody like Mysterio should work really well here. But I like the options here where tech champions can apply a lot of debuffs, because with this power shield node the debuffs can do quite a bit of damage and you can slowly melt away Domino. So champions like Shuri, champions like Ironheart or Lady Deathstrike are really good options here. Sentinel should also work, and if that was enough, you can always bring in your Omega Sentinel and apply that heal block, and she also has those plasmas, so they should also work really well. Now if you don't have those, you can go for some other options as well, but remember there's going to be a lot of crit failure, so you can go for Nuker, somebody like the Serpent, or you can go for somebody like Onslaught. But I would suggest if you're going to go that route, just learn the backdraft intercept that you just saw. So what you like to do, you wait for Domino to dash in, and when she does, you just dash back first, and then you start with the light attack, and that are easy openings for Domino. I was able to bring her down easily with Ironheart with all of those stacking Incinerates, just SP1 spam, and we are good to go. Lo and behold, we have Mojo. Now with Mojo, the nodes are going to be sponsorship dealed, enhanced physical resistance and staggering beauty. Now there's a lot going on here on this fight and you have to play it very carefully. So first things first, bring in champions that are either buff immune or they have degen resistance or degen immunity. That is very important because otherwise you will degen so much and you will die very quickly. So your basic counters are going to be like Spider-Man 2099, your Titanias, your Red Guardians. All of these champions will work super well here because they are going to be buff immune. Now other champions that can work that are your degen immune can be D.Shehulk, your Spiderham, your Hulk. All of these champions also make a good counter for this fight. Now this fight, you will also need to try to finish it in one go or like maximum 2, because every time you die, Mojo is going to gain a charge, and the next fight he's going to start with power gain, and you don't want to push him, give him all of that power gain, because you're going to keep throwing those specials and do a lot of more damage. Now, the whole thing of this fight is he will give you different prompts like Mojo does, and you will have to, in the heat of the battle, you are going to give him some of those prompts, and that is going to prompt a hater buff on you, whatever it's called. And when the buff is removed, you're going to get a degen on you. Now the best way to deal with it is to stay near Mojo. When you stay near Mojo, you will notice there are staggered debuffs on me. So the more I stay near Mojo, the more staggered debuffs I get. So even if I activate any of his prompts, those are going to be eaten up by the stagger. Also, if I'm going to do any kind of evade, those are also going to be eaten up by the stagger. So you really have to like play it nice. Now you will notice this fight will go bad for me so quick. I'm doing so well here. I'm staying near, using my special 2s, and like he's just throwing his SP1, and I'm in that loop. I am doing so well. And then just one time he does not throw his special, he runs out the taunt debuffs, and from there the fight goes downhill for me and I die. I had to bring back my void to take Mojo out, but this fight is definitely soloable, especially with She-Hulk or any champion that is actually resistant to degen or is buff immune, and you should be able to get through the fight. As long as you stay near Mojo, you should be good. But if you're not comfortable with that, then for sure you will need a buff immune champion that can like create the space and still not gain any buffs, so the degen is not going to be a factor there. Keep him to an SP1, that should be an easier evade instead of SP2, and you should be good for this fight. And next up we have Mr. Ibom. So this fight is again, he's super tanky. The whole thing about this fight is going to be very tanky, and he's going to take like a lot of time. So bring in a champion that can like really nuke him down. Otherwise, oh, it's going to take a lot. So the nodes are going to be here is Saddest. So the more debuffs he has, his damage output will be increased. That is going to do a lot more damage. There's also Return to Sender with Bleed. So if you apply bleeds to him, they will be applied back onto you. So make sure you don't use a bleed champion. If you use who applies bleed, make sure they are also bleed immune. So somebody like Warlock should be good. And there's also Crippling Failure and Under Pressure. So the way this fight works is that you need a champion. I would suggest preferably use a poison immune champion. That is going to be well, because if you don't use a poison immune and he gets to an SP3 when he throws an SP2 out, or if you get 10 kind of poisons on you, you're going to get acid burn, and acid burn is like, it's a slow death. Like it will do so much damage that you will die very quickly. So I would say keep him to an SP1, and the SP2 acid burn hits a lot. And also do not use champions that apply bleeds unless they are immune to bleeds themselves. And poison immunes will be having less power to gain because of Petrify, but that's okay. I mean, you need to do more damage to him for a safer fight. So any champion that has escalating damage, so for example, both of your She-Hulks work super well here, because with all the Furies and the trauma debuffs, they can take out Immortal Abomination very quickly. If not that, a champion like Overseer can work really well, because in his cosmic phase, he is going to deal a lot of damage to Abomination, and because he's tanky, he's going to gain a lot back from willpower as well. Hulk again with his Hulk Smash will do amazing, so bring champions that can do quite a bit of damage, like huge chunks of it, to get through this fight. He is a very tanky champion, Ibom, so it might take a little to bring him down, but luckily I had that She-Hulk and she just ripped through a Mortal Abomination quite easily. You will notice that I kept him to an SP1 only, and once I have around 25 trauma debuffs, that's like a figure I like to go for. I just kept triggering my SP2s, and that was enough to deal faster damage and bring down Immortal Abomination. And we made it to the final boss. Now this is going to be a very annoying apocalypse with finish them, genetic refinement, electric fluctuations, and coolant leak. So if you bring in a robot, you are going to be degent instead of bleed. So when you bring in robots, just be wary about that. Although the only way he can apply bleeds to you is a heavy attack, so the likelihood of you getting a bleed or a degen on you is very less. So your regular robots like Omega Sentinel, your Warlock, all of those can work. Hell, I would say even you can bring in somebody like Guardian or even an Ironheart, that should work. But my favorite champion to take this apocalypse out is going to be a Deathless She-Hulk or your regular She-Hulk. Now what I like to do is to always push him to an SP2 because I am very apt at evading his special 2s. Now the way that works is when he goes into his animation as a SP2, you wait as near as possible to his gun. Once he throws the first kind of a attack from his gun, the first energy ball, you dash back and you dash back 3 times. So I'm just very near, Dex, 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 and I am able to evade the whole SP2. So that's what I'm gonna go to do the whole fight. And I was able to solo this super easy with the D.Shehulk. Again, you will need practice. Now, if you're not that good at this SP2 evade, your tech champions are your best bet. So if you die here, he will gain charges. This is the first attempt, so he has only 2 charges, so he does not go stun immune yet. But if you die once or twice, he is going to get to 4 charges. Then it will be difficult to deal with him because you cannot parry him, because he will be stun immune while attacking. So you will have to rely more on those intercepts. So that's going to be a difficult fight. I feel like pushing to an SP2 is much easier to deal with. The SP1 is a bit annoying, but SP2 you can fully evade. So it's up to you. And yeah, with final one is with robot champions. Just be careful. If the bleed is applied on you, that is going to be converted into a degen. Yeah, apart from that, the whole concept or the gameplay loop is simple, but the difficulty comes in if you die once or twice and it gets more charges. So you have to really like log in for this fight and try to bring him down in the first or second attempt, because otherwise the fight gets harder for you. So I will leave you to it for the remaining of the fight. I will just fast forward it a little, but you will notice throughout this fight all I did was keep pushing him to an SP2 using my striker, using my special attack. My whole focus was to keep pushing him to an SP2 and then evade the specials, and I wasn't even caring how much trauma I am stacking on him, because the focus was to just keep pushing him to an SP2 and evade those to keep the fight as safe as possible. So I was able to take out Apocalypse quite comfortably in the end. I won't say easy, but comfortably, because I know the rotation and the gameplay loop of this. So let me know what champion you use specifically for this fight. I would love to hear from you guys. And fight number 17 brings us to a very beefy Sasquatch. Oh, this fight is annoying. You notice that Sasquatch is already down to 71% because I made a mistake and I died with Void. What a noob you have to be to die with Void on this fight. But well, that happened. So, talking about the nodes is going to be Enhanced Recovery, Life Cycle, Hard Knock Life and Power Snack. So basically, he is going to be super tanky, super hard to kill, and to make sure that he becomes like more annoying for you, his region is also buffed up with enhanced recovery. And also, when you're about to knock him down at knock him out, there's this node called Life Cycle that will keep giving him power, that will keep giving him region back, and it will be given 5% every time you try to knock him down when the Life Cycle shield is up. Now, how do you deal with that? You bring in a champion that can reverse the power, that can reverse the heal, and then you knock him down when he gets down to 1% power, and that should take him out. So the way this works, you look at a shield icon underneath Sasquatch's health bar with the blue color. So this is the life cycle shield, and you notice every time you will knock down Sasquatch, it will go on cooldown. So every time that goes on cooldown, the time on the cooldown increases by a fraction. So you have to keep knocking him down until the shield becomes purple. That means that this is the maximum duration the shield can be on cooldown. So that is, I think, around 3 seconds. Once you have that, then it's all about slowly bringing Sasquatch down to 1 HP, and then knock him down so the shield, the life cycle shield goes on cooldown again, and you can kill him. Otherwise, what happens that because the shield is up and you're not able to knock him out, because if the shield is up and you push him to 0 health, he is going to gain back 5% HP, and with all the enhanced recovery, it's going to be very hard. He's going to oscillate between 1% HP into 5% HP all the time. So this fight can become really annoying if you don't have the right counter. To be honest, the only reason I brought Void for this fight because I didn't want to deal with it. This was the original crazy fight in the Grandmaster's Gauntlet when it was reduced. There were so many people who did like the whole part, and this was like a big slap in the face, like a roadblock for a lot of people. So I just have PTSD from that time. So I just brought in a specific counter for Void. He did help me for some other fights as well, but this is the fight I specifically brought Void for. Apart from that, there are the usual Sasquatch shenanigans. When he has enough of his charges, he's going to go in a frenzy. He's going to keep getting unstoppables, and he's going to keep throwing those special tags. You just have to play around them and keep up your debuffs, and with Void, the debuffs slowly keep melting away the opponent. So that would be a comfortable fight, but a long one. Now, what other champions can work here, you might ask me. So champions that can control his power gain and his region should work really well. Champions that have exhaustion, because exhaustion stops Sasquatch from getting his charges. So Spidey 2099 should be amazing here. Your Luke Cage should be amazing here. If that's not enough, you can always use both of the She-Hulks because of their increasing damage and taunts. So Sasquatch will keep using his special attacks, and also the Wither will also help you from both of She-Hulks to keep his power gain and also his HP gain in check. Cloud Nefaria should be another good option, and finally that I'm using Void. He should work really well. I'm sure there are other options as well. Let me know in the comment section which option did you use, but for me, I just brought Void in for this specific fight to keep it super safe, one and done, so I can move on. Next up is going to be a Killmonger. The nodes are going to be Polka Dot Power, Enhanced Soldier, Sharpened Claws, and Cutting Wires. So whenever you are going to parry him, you are going to get bleeds on you. That is going to do quite a bit of damage on you. And if you're using a robot champions, those will be converted into a degen with Cutting Wires. Now I had an idea that I could use Ironheart here, and just with the SP1 spam, I can keep applying those debuffs. Now the way Killmonger was, while his Vibranium armor is active, he is going to gain more power whenever you will apply a debuff on it. But if you don't apply a new debuff and you keep the old ones up, his power gain is not that crazy. So what I was trying to do here is to keep using my SP1 spam with Ironheart, keep pushing into an SP2, and let all of those incinerates do the damage. Now I am also using a Sentinel relic, so I was able to pause them quite a bit. At one time I had 50 of those incinerates all in, and that literally melted Killmonger. I was easily able to solo him, but the mistake I did, I tried to use my SP2 and I died there. So that was annoying to know that I could have soloed the fight if I did not try to, throw my special 2, because I got return damage because of his Vibranium armor. But if you're gonna bring in an Ironheart or champions that have debuffs for the Polka Dot, just keep reapplying those debuffs and that should be enough to take out Killmonger. Now what are some other options that can work really well here? So your armor breakers can work really well. So for example, your Medusa should be really good. A great champion I think for this fight is going to be your Venom. Use a heavy attack to break the armor and then let his bleeds take over. His bleeds will really melt Killmonger very fast. I think Venom is going to be one of those champions that nobody really thinks about for this ordeal, but he can do so much. Namor should be a good one because you can return all of that damage. Your usual counters, they include like your Omega Sentinel. So if you bring Omega Red, if you're using a Colossus with Omega Red, that is also going to be a good team, but you need a 7-star version of it. I know most people don't have it, given the option anyway. I really thought that Werewolf by Night should work great for this fight, and he should have, but I was so surprised by Ironheart taking this fight so efficiently that I never had the chance to use Werewolf by Night. I think he would have done great as well. So yeah, these are the options. Just simply apply all of those debuffs and keep pushing him to an SP2. That is going to be the safest route. And before you know it, he is going to be down. Look at that 50 incinerates eating away at Killmonger. I think I'm at 1% HP. I was about to die here, so I panicked and threw an SP1. If I just stayed around and just threw my SP1 again, I would have probably soloed him. But because of the F2, I died, and I went back in and killed him off quite easily in the end. Now next up is going to be Void with Power Shield, Long Distance Relationship, and Shifting Immunity. So with Poison and Bleed, your Poison and Bleed champions will not work. There's Long Distance Relationships. If you stay near Void, you are going to get a debuff on you, and you know how Void works. If there's a debuff, he does extra damage to you, so he's very annoying in that regard. And if that wasn't enough, Void's own ability is to apply debuffs for you every 10 seconds, and the way you remove them is either you shrug them off or you get to 10 hit combo. So right now there's a debuff, I'll get to 20 hits and it will be removed. So this is like a classic type of Void duel where you have to keep the debuffs away but still do damage to him, but he does not take damage from basic attacks because there's Power Shield. So you need some kind of nuker to take him out. So I am using an Ironheart here because I just love Ironheart. She is going to be my rank 4 next. She did so much work for me in this ordeal, so if you have Ironheart, I think bring her in because she's going to destroy a lot of these fights for you. So the way you want to work this is you have to stay away, keep your distance, use your medium combos or medium combos, and then swipe back to keep creating the distance so you don't get the weakness from long distance relationship. And then as soon as you have a special one, throw that out as well and try to get time those 10 hit combos when the debuff timer is about to expire, so you can remove those debuffs applied on you, and slowly and steadily you should be getting through this fight. The one good thing about Ironheart that she does like 7 to 8 hits in the SP1, so if I just keep spamming those SP1 I should be good. But remember that Void is Incinerate immune. So if you're going to use Ironheart, make sure that you activate the reversal pre-fight so you can apply the physical ruptures on Void instead of the Incinerates, and you should be good. So those are my options. Classically, we all used to bring in Professor X and just nuke him with the 200% mutant boost, but I don't think that is now possible because of the nerfs in the mutant boost. But there are plenty of other options now available that you can use. I would say a skilled champion that has Purify would be your good bet. So champions like Shield, Jabari Panther, Mentor should be good. If not, then you can always bring in champions that can nuke him down. So your Onslaught, your Serpent, and your, in my case, Werewolf by Night should be good. If you notice, I just got a lag on SP2 and I got hit with it, and that's just derailed all my fight. Otherwise, Ironheart could have easily soloed the whole fight. So that was a bummer. I had to come back, use on revive, and then take out Void. So let me know who did you use in the comments section, and would love to discuss how the community is getting through this one and what kind of champions they are using. And now up to the final fight. That is going to be a Nick Fury. And finally, we have a Nick Fury before the boss with Lionheart, Vigor, and Kinetic Transfer. So right off the bat, any champion that you use that's going to modify his regenerate is not going to work because of Ironheart. That is going to do quite a bit of damage to you, degen, and you will die. Now, I would suggest you to bring in a mutant champion. Don't be me who just brought in Werewolf by Night, but even at 5% health, I was able to solo, and I finished up with 80% health because of regen in the Lycan mode. Some good champions that can work here can be your Onslaught. He's going to be a doozy for all of this ordeal. You can also use a Colossus, Omega Red, NTW, Denny Moonstar. All of these champions will work. So Lionheart will prevent the heal reversal, so don't bring heal reversal champions. You can always push Nick Fury to an SP2 because of the node kinetic transference. Whenever Nick Fury will hit you in the block, he will gain power, so it's easier for you to push him to an SP2, especially if you're using a tanky mutant like somebody like Colossus. You can just simply hold block. If he is near his 2 bars of power, you can easily push him, so that node kinda helps you. And mutant champions will keep his charges under control, so this fight does not have to be as difficult that I've made for myself. I just brought in Werewolf by Night, and at this point I had only taken 3 fights with him, so I wanted to take more fights, so I just brought him in for this one. But he worked out really well because his ruptures I can easily apply in the blocks, so I do not give Nick Fury much power. And with in his Lycan mode, he has that regen that tops him up, and the SP2 does quite a bit of damage, so he worked out quite well for me in the end. It was a slower fight if I brought in because I didn't brought in a mutant champion, but it was a very safe fight in the end, and I was able to recover a lot of my health and throw multiple specialties in one Lycan mode, so he worked out quite well for me. He was a big surprise package for me, but he is a rank 4. He does do a lot of damage, but I think he can do a lot more fights. Like he can also go against Thing, he can also go against Void, so you have some other fights he can work really well too. So yeah, if you have him, and if you have him rank 3, he can be a good option. But all in all, if you ask me, if I have to do this run again, I would not bring Werewolf by Night. I would rather bring a Bishop. All the fights that Werewolf by Night has taken, Bishop can take as well. If I had the rank 3 Bishop, I would have brought him. I would have saved a bit more revives, but I just wanted to see how hard a rank 4 will hit in the ordeal, so I just brought him in. So at this point, Nick Fury is down to 33%, and all of those ruptures are stacking up, and I have healed all the way up to 55% from 5% health, so I just love this champion. So yeah, slow and steady, you can take him out. I'm giving you the options that you can use. Let me know what option you used, and let's move on to the boss fight. And finally, we have the boss Thanos. There are not any extra nodes on him, but he is quite annoying to deal with. But when you plan your path, bring a champion that has Wither, and this fight should become super easy for you. Now, the way he works, on every phase, he's going to gain, the bars of power according to the phase. So in phase 1, he gets 1 bar of power. On phase 2, he gets 2 bars of power. So, and there are different specials with different effects, and you have to play around them. So in the beginning of the fight, until you get to 95%, that is introductory phase, he is not going to gain any power. So your job is to apply that Wither before you get to 95%, because when you have the Wither up, he cannot gain any power. And once the phase is active, run out that bleed timer on Thanos, and then you have the fight under control. You can just take him to his corner, you can spam your heavies, make sure to keep applying those SP2s so you can keep those Withers up on him, because he's a champion that constantly gains power, and with the Withers on him, he will not gain any kind of power. And as long as there's no power, he's going to throw no specials, and if there's no specials, there are no special effects that will come into play for each phase, and he really becomes like a punching bag and you can take him out. I can tell you to bring other champions that don't have Wither, but why make life difficult for you? Bring in champions that have Wither. Start with that when you plan for your path, and then plan for the remaining path. So some really good options that work for this fight are going to be your Spider-Man 2099. He was the OG Deathless Thanos killer. Sorry, Nameless Thanos killer. And then there's also Deathless She-Hulk now. Sentry can work, Leader can work. Any champion with a Wither that you can keep up with an uptime, he should be great. Now you notice here that Nameless Thanos got to almost half a bar of power because I delayed applying my Wither on him, but I learned my lesson, took him in the corner, spamming my heavy, and I'm up to an SP2 again. I'm gonna use my SP2, and just like that, you can get through his phase 1, phase 2 without any problem. So this is loads of just punching here and there, nothing much going around anywhere else. Now originally, if you do this fight on phase number 2 after 95%, he is going to throw an SP1, and every single time he throws an SP1, he's going to get like a shield on him, and if you attack him during that shield, it will apply some heavy bleeds on you. But as he's not gaining any power, he does not get that effect, and you can get through him quite easily. Just keep applying those Withers. In She-Hulk's case, I'm going to just throw my SP2s, and that should do the trick for me. Now once you get to phase 2, he usually applies kind of right here. He's getting into phase 2. He will apply a degen on you with Aspect of Nightmare, and once that degen is finished, you gain back your health. So that is the only time he's going to apply that effect on you. Don't worry about it, because we keep applying Withers on him, he will never gain 2 bars of power, and he will never throw that special out that you will have to evade. And because of that, you don't have to worry about the Aspect of Nightmares, and just take him to a corner, keep throwing that heavy. It kind of gets boring, to be honest, because he's very tanky with his health pool, 290,000 his PI, and then his health is just crazy, and you end up just throwing your heavy attacks in the corner and just waiting for him to go down to 30% for his phase 3. So I leave you to it. You know now how to deal with him. Keep the Withers up, keep spamming those heavy in the corner, and you should be good. I will see you on the phase 3 where he actually gets a bit annoying to deal with. Now at phase 3, he's going to get Death Touch, so that is going to be the black icon with the cooldown. So don't get hit even in your block, or don't try to parry him. So you get one hit and you're dead. So the way that works is you have to make sure that you intercept him so you can get a safeguard. So if he uses a special attack, so he only takes about 25% of your health, and if you're using kind of Avenger, only 10% health will be taken out. But you don't have to worry about this if you have a Wither already applied and you are just waiting out the Death Touch. So that's what I'm trying to do here. It's going to get to an SP3, so I have to kind of safeguard. I have to kind of use my intercept there, but now I have my Withers up. Now the fight is back under control. So the biggest mistake you can do is to go from phase 2 and phase 5 and get hit and die. From phase 2 to phase 3 and get hit and die, because you will have to reapply the Withers, and then you can he can easily get to an SP3. So the best way to deal with this phase is keep the Withers up from phase 2, and as soon as you get to 30%, just stay around. Just dance around until the Death Touch is deactivated, and after that you can easily parry him and you can corner him, and it's the same thing over and over again what you did in phase 1, phase 2 and phase 3. Just take him to a corner, keep using your heavy attacks, and get to an SP2 and keep throwing that. As long as the Withers are up, he does not get to an SP3, there is no Death Touch and you can kill him. Just be wary about one thing, that he is going to be stun immune, so that might put you off a little, because you were able to reliably parry first. Now you're not, so just be careful about that. Now I am just chilling. I don't have to worry about any kind of specials from him, because in this phase he only throws SP3s, but as long as the Wither is active, he is not going to gain power, and I'm having the time of my life. Just be careful about that block damage. The dude is just throwing 5-hit combos, and yeah, just like that, another SP2, Withers are up again, and Hakuna Matata. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, and I hope it helps you get through your ordeal run. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. The whole community is there, and that's the best part I love about the channel of the videos. Everybody joins in and talks about counters, and everybody learns from it. So let me know in the comment section. And yeah, apart from that, I hope you all have an amazing day. Don't forget to check out the rewards. I got some really good rewards from this fight, as it was a run that was worth it for me. So I hope to see you on the next video. I'll see you next time. Bye.